Hey guys, welcome back. I am currently doing a couple of studies that I've been putting off for a while. One of them is the Proverbs 31 woman. The reason I've been putting it off is because everybody talks about it. And in a weird way, I kind of felt like I already knew what there was to know about it. But I found that when you read the word, like there are some verses that I've read 30, 40, 50 times, and I still find something new every time I read it. That's how, deep and thick and I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but that's how living the word is. And so I finally kind of got myself in gear and said, okay, go back and look at the Proverbs 31 woman and see what you can glean from it. So I've been doing a study on that. And this is the video of me going through that study and reading through those verses. Bubbles also decided to join me. I'm sorry if the camera gets a little shaky for a little while because she decided she needed to know about the Proverbs 31 woman too. Essentially, this is a very popular study, so I'm not going to bore you with the things that you always hear. What I did was I wrote out the verses, and then off to the side, I highlighted the traits or the characteristics that were being presented about this woman, or about how we're defining a virtuous woman. And so I'm not really going to talk much about those things because there are so many studies on this. But there were four things that stood out to me that I feel like people don't often talk about. And I wrote those out at the end. I did a little bit of highlighting as I was writing the verse. And then I went back and kind of filled out my thoughts about it at the near the end of the video. So I'm just going to let you guys watch me as I take the notes. I'll put in some music, and then when we get to that point, I'll come back and we'll talk about those four specific points that I found to be very enlightening. So the first thing I want to point out comes in verse 15. It clearly states that she is providing for maidservants, and that means that she has help. So the Proverbs 31 woman does a lot, but she clearly has help doing these things. Whether you're thinking of an actual maid that helps wash the dishes and clean, or you're thinking of a support system and a support group that gets her through this, you need help. Now, the second thing I want to point out is in verse 18, and it talks about the fact that her lamp does not go out by night. I wanted to point this out because it reminds me of a verse in Matthew chapter 25, or should I say a passage, about the 10 virgins. They're waiting on the bridegroom, and 5 of them are foolish. They don't have oil for their lamp, and so they get left out. And it's about our faith and being ready for the coming Savior. And so I think that ties together. Now, another thing I want to point out is in verse 22. It talks about the fact that her clothing is fine linen and purple. We talk a lot about women and modesty in the church. However, she is on a fine linen, and purple was associated with royalty because it was very, very expensive to dye cloth purple. So I wanted to point that out too. So the final thing that I want to point out is in verse 23. It talks about her husband being well known at the gates. And what that means is that he was a man of stature. He was a man of prominence in the community, because in ancient Israelite culture, everything happened at these gates. This is where politics was discussed. This is where business was discussed. So for him to be well known there, it means that he was also successful. And this testifies to the cyclical nature within relationships, that when one person is successful, it helps the other person to be successful. Because by being successful or holding your own weight or bringing something to the table, as we say today, you enable your partner to be able to do the same. You see, yes, the Proverbs 31 woman is a businesswoman. She is making things and she's gaining money from this, but her husband is also successful. So he's also bringing money into the household. He is also bringing prominence to the household. And that's why she can afford these fine linens and this purple dye and these maid servants that help her out. Right? She has a support system from her husband who is providing her with the ability to do these things. And in turn, the fact that she's able to hit the ground and run with this, that she's able to provide and also contribute to the house and maintain the house, it means that he is free to attend to his business. And so it allows him to thrive and be successful in his arena. This is the thing that I feel like most people miss when they talk about the relationship between man and woman and the relationship of woman in the relationship. So I just wanted to touch on that because I think it's super important and very, very necessary to the conversation. So that's basically all I wanted to point out. If you would like to see me do a more in-depth study on this, let me know in the comments section. As always, it's great to hear from you, and I will see you next time.